Hi there, I'm Heath Drusen, host of the Extremely American podcast. Do you have questions about extremist movements? Join me on August 13th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Boise State's Osher Institute for an Ask Me Anything about extremism in Idaho and across America. This event supports Season 3 of Extremely American with a suggested donation of $10. You'll get your questions answered while directly supporting this vital reporting. Hope to see you there.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector, Idaho Daily News. Good morning, I'm Lauren Patterson. It's Friday, August 7th. Today we have news on a revamp of Idaho's attorney licensing exam, the latest wildfire potential forecast for the Northwest, and a new project that could help Idaho store more water. Idaho and the Northwest are in the midst of an extreme wildfire season that is expected to remain active through the end of September. Julie Luqueta looks at the effects of prolonged exposure to wildfire smoke on mental health.
A 2025 study by Harvard University showed exposure to wildfire smoke significantly increased emergency department visits for mental health issues. Beth Markley from the National Alliance on Mental Health in Idaho, or NAMI, says smoke can very much weigh on people's minds.
The sun is obscured, the air feels heavy.
She says wildfire smoke can trigger existential dread, anxiety, depression, and panic disorders. It can also disproportionately affect vulnerable populations, like unhoused folks.
It's not only people who already experience mental illness, but those who have a hard time getting out of the smoke.
To combat feelings of hopelessness and fear, Markley says it's important to ward off isolation.
Because we can't all go out there and be on the front lines fighting fires, but we can check in on our neighbors and we can make sure that they're safe and cared for.
Markley says watching communities burn is also very traumatic, especially for people directly affected by loss.
And be aware that their needs are going to continue to go on long after the fires are out and the air is clear.
1 in 4 Idahoans will experience a mental health condition in their lifetime. Julie Luqueta, Boise State Public Radio News.
If you or anyone you know is struggling, help is available. Call or text the Idaho Crisis and Suicide Lifeline at 988 or go to NAMI.org. That's NAMI.org for more resources. You are not alone. Idaho is one of the first states in the country to implement a new attorney licensing exam. Chantel Ramirez Sanchez has more.
Last month, 125 University of Idaho graduates of the only law school in the state tested to get licensed.
We're very proud and excited to be among the first of the 10 jurisdictions to have launched the brand new next-gen uniform bar exam.
That's Maureen Ryan Braley, the executive director of the Idaho State Bar. Idaho is one of 10 jurisdictions, including Washington, Oregon, Missouri, and Guam, to use the test that's less about memorizing and more about testing lawyering skills.
By being in the first group of states to use the new exam, we benefited from additional resources provided by the NCBE to assist us in administering the new tests, like training, boots on the ground.
She says the National Conference of Bar Examiners, or NCB, began a study in 2018 to study the efficacy of the test. Then, 3 years ago, the State Bar formed a task force to decide if Idaho would start using the test.
We have not done a wholesale comprehensive look at the bar exam since really the 1970s, when the multi-state bar exam, which was the multiple choice component of the test, was developed.
Before, law grads would test for 12 hours over 2 days. The new test takes 9 hours over a day and a half. The previous exam will sunset across the country in July of 2028. Chantal Ramirez Sanchez, Boise State Public Radio News.
The latest wildfire potential forecast shows all of Idaho, Oregon, and Washington at above average risk for significant wildfire through September. Troy Oppie reports.
Above average risk areas through September also include northern parts of Montana, Nevada, Utah, and California. Wildfire risk usually peaks in August or early September, but U.S. Forest Service meteorologist Jim Wallman, working with the National Interagency Fire Center, says this year is a bit different in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, we haven't really seen the entire states covered all at once like this before. Well, in 2024, it was almost all except for Northwest Oregon and Southwest Washington.
Wallman's report says fuels are now fully dried out at most elevations, and with continued drought and hot and dry conditions predicted, no part of the region is spared from above-average risk of significant wildfire. He says the public should be paying attention,
especially if they have any, plans to go backpacking, camping, things like that, to be extra prepared when you go into those areas.
Drought conditions are expected to persist and expand across the Northwest through October, but could improve in the Intermountain West starting next week with a predicted surge in North American monsoonal moisture. Troy Oppie, Boise State Public Radio News.
Much of Idaho continues to be in a drought, but there's one new project that could add tens of thousands of acre-feet of extra water storage. But as George Prentice reports, yesterday's update on the project was shallow in details.
The project would raise the height of the Anderson Ranch Dam to increase water storage to almost 30,000 acre-feet, and it would cost around $129 million.
We're making steady progress.
That's Ryan Alcorn of the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, updating the Idaho Water Resource Board on the project, which would have a huge impact on water flows from Anderson Ranch to Arrow Rock and Lucky Peak reservoirs. His brief was thick with optimism, but thin on particulars.
This is the critical path right now.
Critical because they need to agree on an environmental impact study with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. But when a board member asked Alcorn if he had an estimate of when the project might be put out for bid, Alcorn's short reply was,
I do not at this time.
But when the board member pressed on, asking what a typical time frame might be between a project plan being published and putting it out for bid, Alcorn said,
I would like to see it in fiscal year 27.
To which a board member said, we're just excited to get this started. George Prentice, Boise State Public Radio News.
You can read more about the stops and starts of the Anderson Dam project at our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. And that's today's episode of The Connector. I'm Lauren Patterson. It's been a tough summer for illness tied to food, and Idaho is no exception. Hear my raw milk feature as it goes national on All Things Considered this afternoon. And hey, have a great weekend.
The fatal shooting of a teenager at a protest in Seattle has gone unsolved for 6 years.
This is open in your face. How are there no answers?
Our investigation has uncovered new evidence and witnesses who say they've never talked to police.
Did police ever call you? Not once.
Listen to We Keep Us Safe, a new true crime series on the Embedded podcast from NPR.